All right, let's start the stream up. Monday Night Knicks, salute to Knicks Nation. The NBA season, the most chaotic season we've ever experienced, is finally over. And now, on to more important things. The Knicks offseason has officially kicked off, even though we've been there since February. Cp3 from KnicksFanTV checking in on tonight's episode of the Draft Q&A. Tonight's special guest, he is the lead NBA draft scout and writer for Bleacher Report, Jonathan Wasserman in the building. Jonathan, how you doing, man? Thanks for joining tonight.
I'm doing good, man. I appreciate the invite.
Absolutely, man. So like I said, a chaotic season is officially finished, and now we segue into one of the most unpredictable NBA drafts in history. And I say that because there's a lot of chatter about the top two picks and Minnesota and Golden State potentially trying to trade out of it. What do you gather is the motivation for these two teams to trade back potentially? And do you see a potential play here for the Knicks? Obviously, LaMelo being the target. You know, what do you think is happening here?
Yeah, I think the motivation is the fact that nobody loves anybody, and the Timberwolves, even the guys who are projected to go high aren't great fits with what they have, and the same thing with the Warriors. And so the obvious idea here is to trade down for a guy who fits a little bit better and get an additional asset on the side. And I got to imagine the Knicks are at least thinking about moving up. It seems like there's a way to get a top two pick in this draft. It seems easier than usual than in previous drafts. Usually to get a number one, number two pick, you have to give up a lot. And in this year, that may not be the case. The question is it going to take Mitchell Robinson or RJ Barrett to get a top two pick? I'm guessing if it does take that they won't be willing to put those two guys into a deal. But I'm not sure I'm not sure it may. I mean, it may take future draft picks. It may take a bunch of the young guys in the team, combination of both. But I think that's really the question executives are asking right now when they're trying to figure out how this board's going to play out is we know that Minnesota and Golden State are interested in moving down, but what is it going to take for them to actually move down?
Yeah, you're not the only person who said that the cost might not be as high as previous years. The Warriors in particular is very intriguing because I just don't know what their angle is here. You know, do they want to trade down for one of the wings, whether it be Okoro, Vassell, Avdia, as they've been rumored to be interested in? Do they want to go after a more established piece? You know, is it a Beal? Even though I don't think Embiid will be on the block with Doc getting there, you know, do they want a more established piece to get right back and compete with the Lakers there in the West?
Yeah, I don't know. I also think they might try and save some money, and maybe they'll try and get rid of Wiggins' contract. And then also, if we're talking about money too, they might want a rookie who they're not going to have to pay as much. And probably whatever rookie they take is not going to be a featured guy in the offense. And so it may be worth trading down for a lower price rookie who's maybe a lower maintenance player who can fit in a little bit. Like Halliburton is a name I've heard thrown out. And then guys like you mentioned, Avdia, Okoro, guys you probably don't want to take at number two. Much rather take, number 6, number 7, number 8. I don't know what veterans are going to be available, honestly, in terms of trading for an established guy like
Right.
Drew Holiday or Beal. Like I just can't see a deal working out there. But I think it's a lot more likely that they end up moving down a couple spots and actually trading for a star.
Yeah, and as you said, salary cap implications unknown, but a lot of implications once that number is set in terms of how teams approach this draft. I'm with you. I don't see the Knicks being as aggressive in terms of throwing RJ or Mitch in the deal for LaMelo. But that now there is talk. Berman of the Post has come out with an article tonight of the Knicks potentially trading down if they don't get LaMelo. What are your thoughts of a potential trade down in this draft?
Yeah, I think it's totally plausible. The difference between number 8 and number 14 is nothing. And there are guys like, Maxey is going to be the name who's probably thrown in there with Kenny Payne and Kentucky Connection. And Maxey could easily have a case at number 8. I mean, I have Maxey at number 10 on my board. And honestly, the difference between him and Vassell for me, who I have at number 8 on my overall board, is so small. And so it'll be interesting to see if they do move down, like what they could get for moving down.
Yeah.
If there's a young guy who hasn't really taken off with their team, like a Mo Bamba, probably not exactly Mo Bamba, but like a guy like that, who's a good buy low candidate. If they can get someone like that, plus move down for somebody like Maxey, I'm sure they're going to look at it. But I'm still wondering if they're going to look to move up a couple spots, and I think everything is in play here. And there's just going to be so many phone calls, and there's the teams in front of them, like the Bulls, are going to be looking down, probably interested in moving down as well. And I've heard the Hawks are constantly talking about trades, and probably more so looking down than looking to trade up. And so I doubt any deal happens until like middle of the draft or like right before the draft, because it's just tough to really pull the trigger with so much uncertainty.
A lot of uncertainty indeed, man. Salute to everybody in the chat. Hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Boston is a team on the trade down. As you said, Orlando with Mo Bamba. Berman did mention that, there could be some interest with Orlando and DSJ, Dennis Smith Jr. But Boston, we're sitting there with 3 picks in this draft, not able to field as many on the roster. I think that may be an interesting play in terms of number 14.
I just talk to a source yesterday, and the words he used were, "I think they're up to something." I think the Celtics are up to something. He didn't have anything of any substance or any like real deal rumors, but with 3 picks, nobody expects them to make 3 picks.
Right.
So the question is what they're going to do with it, and it would make sense for them to if they love one guy. And I keep bringing up Halliburton, and I know I got a lot of shit.
We'll talk about that.
But I'll tell you right now, everybody loves Halliburton.
Wow.
Even if they don't see a star player, nobody sees any stars in this draft, really. Even LaMelo has a lot of skeptics in terms of how high his ceiling can go. And so I think the bar is kind of low. And Halliburton is just a guy who is so low risk and fits for everybody. And I won't keep using his name, but if the Celtics see a guy like that, or Okoro, who's just such a good fit anywhere, you can throw him in multiple positions. You don't have to have a certain roster for them to come in. And so it's definitely going to be interesting. I'd imagine Boston. I'm imagining that there's somebody that they like that's probably not going to fall to 14, that they're going to, look to see if they can package a couple picks and move up.
Yeah. Now, in your mock draft last week, as you alluded to, you did put a hypothetical trade scenario there where you would have the Knicks trading up to 4 with the Bulls for Halliburton in exchange for 8 Kevin Knox, and I believe 38. Now the Knicks fans were coming for you, man. I was trying to stave them off, man. Tell them to fall back. But your explanation was more so, like you said, that there is a lot of talk that the execs are high on Halliburton. I'm just iffy, not to say that he wouldn't necessarily fit with the Knicks. I just feel like he can't run the offense on this team, and that they're still gonna have to go out and get a point guard even after taking him.
Sure, I agree, and. If you look at my personal board, I have Halliburton at number 12 and I have Killian Hayes at number 2, but that's just not how most NBA guys see it.
Yeah.
And I think again, there's something about Halliburton, and it's not just his high IQ and his passing and the intangibles and the fact that I know it's a cliche and the buzzwords, but like he's the type of guy who makes guys better. And if you hear him interview, he's just like an A+ interview, high character guy. And again, in this draft, and one scout I talked to said his team is putting more stock into intangibles this year than any other year, because it's so hard to identify the talent that they'd rather just get a good teammate, a safe pick who again can fit in anywhere. And I think with Halliburton, I have a lot of questions about whether he is a lead point guard. I actually like him better as a 2 guard,
right?
Putting him next to a faster breakdown guy who can get into the lane, and that's really the big concern with Halliburton. Can he blow by guys? Can he shoot off the dribble? I'd probably say no to both of those questions, but he's a good secondary playmaker. And I think with Halliburton, he gives your team flexibility in the rebuild. So you can draft Halliburton and then still go out and get a point guard, or you could draft Halliburton and still go out and get an explosive 2 guard. Like you could do a lot of different things with him. And so I think that's what makes him so attractive. And again, when I did that hypothetical trade, first of all, it's just for fun. This is not any rumor, and I'm not like putting money on that happening, and I don't even think it should happen. But I'm just telling you, guys love Halliburton, and the love for Killian Hayes is stronger on Twitter than it is in real life.
Interesting.
And so I'm betting if the Knicks had a choice between Halliburton and Killian Hayes, from what I hear, the Knicks and other teams would take Halliburton.
Wow.
And so that's just, I was just playing around with that. And if the Knicks did love Halliburton, I think the cost of getting him, first of all, Knox, I'm sure everyone still has some hope for him.
Yeah.
Like his value is none. I mean,
Nothing.
Listen, potential is great. Potential is, but if you've shown no proof of reaching it after 2 seasons, then the potential kind of expires. And I think people have a lot of questions about whether Knox just gets it, whether he has a field. So his value is limited. And then, of course, I just threw in the number 38 pick because what the hell, if that's what they really needed to get the job done. If the Bulls were like, in order to get this deal done, you have to throw in the 38 pick or it's not going to happen. I'm guessing the Knicks would throw in the 38 pick.
How would your top 5 big board for the Knicks? Let's say the big 3 are gone. Let's say LaMelo, Wiseman, Edwards are gone. What would your top 5 look like for the Knicks if you were picking?
So, I guess my personal strategy is like you have to go best player available. And the Knicks have a blank canvas roster. I mean, you just have to be realistic here, and
Start
you don't
from
know.
Scratch.
I mean, listen, I like Mitchell Robinson. He's a good prospect. He's a starting caliber player. RJ Barrett. I mean, we just had a decent rookie season. I mean, we just have no idea where their trajectory is from here. And to not take a player because he plays a similar position as RJ Barrett or Mitchell Robinson is like crazy. It's like if I always go back to this Miami Heat. They had Whiteside. Imagine if they're like, we're not going to take out a bio because we have Whiteside. Like you have to take the best player available for a team like the Knicks. So anyway, Killian Hayes would be the best player available to me. Like I said, he's number 2 on my board. Honestly, I have Okongwu not far behind him, and I know Okongwu and Mitchell Robinson can play together, but for the same example of why Miami should have taken Bam when they had Whiteside, I mean, I'd take Okongwu, who I think is a better prospect than Mitchell Robinson. And then you move down the board. I have to check to see who my guys are. I mean, Obi Toppin, I understand why there are some people hesitant on Obi Toppin, but he's number 5 on my board. I talk to a lot of guys around the league, and they all love him. And I trust some. I trust some of the NBA guys and some of the scouts, and they just don't have the questions that you see on Twitter. And of course, defense is a big deal.
Yeah, the questions on the defense and the age and all of that. Yeah.
But if Toppin's averaging 23 and 9 on 55% shooting, as long as you can find a way to kind of mask some of his defensive questions, it's not a big deal. And so again, you have to think the Knicks are starting from scratch. You take Toppin and then build around Toppin. And by the way, Toppin and Mitchell Robinson is kind of an interesting combination with Mitch protecting the rim behind him. But otherwise,
I kind of feel like he can help. Mitch can help protect him in that way.
Yeah, and on the flip side, I've also heard, like, I talked to a scout yesterday who was like, you got to play Toppin at the 5. He can't guard around the perimeter. So that's another kind of hiccup in his fit. But at the same time, I still think personally Toppin is top 5 on my board. So if he's there, you got to take him. I'm telling you, he won't be there for the Knicks at number 8. So it's not even really worth talking about. And then in terms of guys who will be there, I think Devin Vassell, both Florida State guys to me are kind of in the next little tier there. And Denny Adia as well. But I don't think Denny is going to be there from what I'm hearing. People love Denny, or at least relatively speaking in this draft. I think everyone, like Halliburton, just sees such a safe pick and such a pro. He's not going to slip to 8. But Vassell and Patrick Williams, I think is the sexier, more upside guy. Vassell is the safer 3-and-D guy, reminds you a lot of Mikal Bridges. But every team could use a guy like Mikal Bridges, and I think in this draft, with the uncertainty, you bank on the certainty that Devin Vassell brings with the shooting and defense. And then Patrick Williams is just like more of a fun pick, more of a home run swing. There are not too many guys with his body. He's got like a Jay Crowder type body, but he also handles in pick and rolls. He shoots off the dribble. He's a more explosive around the basket. So, and he's also the youngest NCAA prospect in the draft. So I'm high on those 2 Florida State guys.
I definitely agree with the best player available take. And I could see this draft, going with the safer pick, including a Vassell would be the right thing to do. Knicks need everything. Like you said, they're painting with a blank canvas right now. I just look at the point guard position right now. When you factor in that Peyton, Frank, and DSJ were, horrific in the pick and roll. The half court offense abysmal. You're trying to figure out, RJ Barrett and his shooting deficiencies, how he works around that. If Hayes is there between Hayes and Vassell, I gotta lean towards the point. I gotta lean towards the point, man. We need an engine to get this offense going, man.
Yeah, no, and I would do the same thing. Even though if I'm thinking, trying to picture what Leon Rose is thinking, and if they're really taking like details into account, Killian Hayes, his big weakness is 3-point shooting. And so the big concern is, okay, do I build a big three of 3 guys, and none of them are good shooters,
right,
with RJ, Mitch, and Killian Hayes. And by the way, Killian Hayes is not a very good decision maker either. So there are kind of questions about, like, giving the ball to a 19-year-old kid from France who had a sky-high turnover rate and can't shoot. So, I mean, on paper, that sounds like a bad decision. On the other hand, we're thinking long-term here, and Hayes, to me, is a top 5 prospect in this draft, and the Knicks can't afford to pass on that.
Yeah. In terms of Vassell, you watch film on him. What do you make of, his ability to potentially inch out more than just, stationary or just a catch and shoot 3-point shooter? What do you think about his ability to get it done off a movement or even create plays for others?
I don't buy the creating plays for others. I don't think he's going to be somebody you give the ball to in ball screen situations, or certainly not isolation. But I'm buying his pull-up game. I mean, he improved. I think he made 31 pull-ups on 38% this year. He's got that really high release and get up over anybody. And I love the jump from one year to the next. He's young. I hear a ton of great things about him off the floor in terms of a guy who people think can maximize his potential. I don't think he's ever going to be a top option in an offense. I think maybe the hope would be like, best case, and obviously this would be amazing if he turned into Chris Middleton, but that type of scorer who is not necessarily super featured, but just finds a way to get you 20 points off different actions. I think more realistically, his ceiling is a little bit lower than that, but I'm buying the defense. Yeah. I mean, it's not only does he have the athleticism to make all the flashy plays on the ball, but he is so damn smart. He just sees plays before they happen, on and off the ball, team defender, on-ball defender. Like, there's just no way he's not going to be a good defender. And of course, back-to-back years, 40% from 3. And now the question is, what can he, build off the dribble? And I think he's got that 1-2 dribble pull-up game. We saw a couple flashes of step backs here and there. You're really guessing, honestly, like how much better he's going to get in terms of creativity and one-on-one scoring. And I really can't confidently answer that, but I think it's a bet worth taking given his floor and who else is going to be on the board at number 8.
Yeah, and as you said, the defense, especially when you look at the division, and again, next year it could be stacked with division games. You look at KD coming back. You look at, Ben Simmons with his size, a Siakam on Toronto. You look at what, Jaylen Brown and Tatum. Obviously, you're not going to have a shutdown defender, but we got to get smarter on the defensive end as well. And I think if you can, have your defense surrounded with Mitch, the length with Vassell and the athleticism there, I think that would be a good start. I wouldn't mind that.
I also think with Vassell, like, no matter what they do in free agency for the next 5 years, they could always use a 3-and-D wing. Right. Every team could always use a 3-and-D wing, and they're not so easy to just pick up in free agency.
Yeah.
And so they can bank on Vassell for the next 4 years of his contract being a cornerstone part of their rotation, regardless of who they add. He doesn't have to fit with anybody else. Like, they could just always use a guy like that.
Now, a guy that I've heard that is dropping, and you had also mentioned that early last week, is Cole Anthony. What are you hearing about Cole, man, that these execs are so sour about?
Yeah, they really cooled on him, and more so than I have. I mean, like, I haven't totally jumped off the wagon, and I think we kind of knew, where he's struggling. We kind of knew that was going to come, and he got injured midseason, and his team finished like 300 in 3-point shooting. There's no spacing there, but I think there's something about his demeanor and maybe a little arrogance, overconfidence, and he just turned a lot of people off this year. And most of the guys I talk to are like just totally just not interested, at least with a high pick. And I know I tweeted out the other day, I talked to an executive who had him 35 on his board, and a couple other guys I talked to who expect him to fall outside the lottery. And, there could always be one team who's just like sitting there hoping that like 29 other teams totally sour on him, and he still goes, to the Kings or something like that at 12, or to Boston. I always picture Denver as a team who kind of like just sits there and waits for all these guys to fall to him, and then they just buy low. But teams definitely are cooling on him, and he's definitely lost support as at least a lead guard. And so, like, obviously you don't. I guess the big question is you don't want him coming in and running your offense
Right.
with his decision making, with his. And I don't think shoot first mentality is such a bad thing in today's league anymore.
Hmm.
But he really has never had the reputation of making guys around him better, and he certainly didn't help eliminate that reputation at North Carolina. And he didn't, obviously he was horrible around the basket. His field goal percentage
Yeah,
is
it
like
was atrocious.
37 in general, and he didn't shoot threes at the highest clip. He just like numbers wise, he really didn't do much. Uh, he wasn't really great in any one area. And if he's going to be your lead guard, I think you have a lot of questions.
Yeah, I would certainly question, fit, especially starting off, if you were to come here. But yeah, you're not the only one who's soured on him, or at least hearing that the execs are soured on him. So interesting for Cole Anthony. Now, there's a lot of talk that the value in this draft is between the 20s to 40s or 15 to 40s, whoever depending on who you speak to. Knicks are at 27. They're also at 38. Who were some names that you like, within those ranges?
So it's funny you mentioned like the Knicks have to come away with a point guard, and I think they might get better value, for point guards unless Killian Hayes falls to him. But other than Killian, assuming LaMelo is gone and they can't get him in a trade, I think there's some good point guard options at 27. I mean, I'm a big Malachi Flynn fan from San Diego State. I have him top 20 on my board, and I think the love is starting to become contagious. I'd almost now be surprised if he does last at 27, but he's somebody who I'd certainly say is a great fit. I'll take Cassius Winston at 27. I know he's a guy who has a really good chance to be there just based on tradition. These senior point guards tend to slip and they kind of get viewed as backups, like Jalen Brunson, Devontae Graham, Malcolm Brogdon, and another guy who I think you could just buy low on, and amazing shooter and just a smart passer, high intangible guy. Desmond Bane from TCU is somebody who I think is probably should be a target for a playoff team, is somebody who can come and help right away. But at the same time, I think if you're the Knicks, Bane is a guy who's talking to teams. He's selling himself as Joe Harris. Like that's the comparison he's using for himself to teams. A shooter, a high IQ guy like that, moves the ball, plays good team, smart defense. I think he's a good fit at 27. Tyrell Terry, to me, I don't think will be there at 27. I've moved him into my lottery, but there are still some people who are hesitant on Terry. I think that might change after the NBA Combine. His camp has been pushing out to me and other guys that he's grown to 6'3" and added 20 pounds.
Yeah, they said he packed on some pounds and some muscle there.
Yeah, and so if that's the case, I'd imagine 27 he won't be there, but he's a guy, maybe if you're the Knicks, you package 38 and 27 to try and move up to get Terry. To me, he's a lottery talent in this draft. And I like Jamias Ramsey, somebody who hasn't really been talked about much. And he could easily be there at 27. And the Knicks, who, kind of like when they took Mitchell Robinson and like he was kind of like a risk reward play. The reward was there was obvious upside with Mitchell. There's upside with Ramsey for a guy who was projected to be a fringe first rounder. He's 6'4", good athlete, big time shot maker, scoring instincts, 42% from three. He makes bad decisions. He has defensive lapses. But I think for a number 27 pick, a freshman with his body and shot making ability, and he's got a great foundation to build off if he gets the right coaching. And the Knicks just put a lot of stock into their player development with these new hires. So Ramsey is a guy I think has a lot of potential, and if gets the right coaches around him, they can maximize it.
A little bit of instant offense. I certainly wouldn't mind that. And we're talking to Jonathan Wasserman of Bleacher Report. Salute to everybody in the chat. Hit that thumbs up button for you boys. If you guys got questions for Jonathan, hit us up. 657-383-1509 is the number to call in. Salute to everybody in the chat once again. It was announced by Shams today that starting October 16th, I think for the next month, the prospects are going to begin in-person workouts for the teams. With so much time that has elapsed, how much do you factor those workouts in? Guys have had time to work on their game. They've, worked on their size or whatever weaknesses. How much do you think teams are factoring in those individual workouts in terms of how that affects their board?
More than ever. And normally I'm like, don't put much stock into the workouts. Don't watch the videos of the 7-footers dribbling between the legs and banging threes. This year, put stock into it. I mean, these scouts are like anxious to do their job because they have been doing nothing for a long time. And a lot can actually change from 7 months since they played, and guys have had nothing to do. They don't have the same social lives to distract them. So guys have been in the gym. They got nothing else to do but work on their games, their shots. And so I think teams are going to put more stock into these workouts than in a typical year. And it'll be interesting to see if any guy can actually move the needle for themselves. And I'm sure there will be. Of course, Ian Begley put out that article, the other day about R.J. Hampton working with Mike Miller. And R.J. Hampton, I mean, if suddenly he becomes a good shooter, that's like a total swing skill.
Yeah.
That would totally change your opinion of him as a prospect. And his shot looked a little different. I mean, I know it's just a workout, but he only played like 15 games overseas. And if he's able to convince a team that he's changed his shot and he's worked on it, and suddenly he's got a much better chance to be a plus shooter, I mean, that's a big difference in your evaluation. So I think teams are actually going to put stock into workouts when normally we'd say, like, don't get too excited.
Yeah, and you mentioned R.J. Hampton, my guy, NBA Draft Junkies. He was down in Dallas with Tyler Relf and R.J. Hampton, and recorded that his most recent workout, and he was pretty impressed. He was pretty impressed with the shot adjustments. A lot of the scouts are liking the tweaks that he's making, and you're certainly seeing some lottery or a little bit later for R.J. Hampton in terms of the latest mocks. So that's certainly going to be interesting to see. Let's go to, we got a super chat in here from Kaiser Sose 718. He says, Aaron Nesmith, the best shooter available. Now, he was shooting about 50-something% from three, limited sample size. What's your thoughts on Nesmith going into this thing?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the numbers are ridiculous. 52% in 14 games. So, I mean, that's like 14 games is like long enough to be a hot streak. So he shot 32% last year. I mean, it was a ridiculous 14 games. The problem I have with Nesmith is that he really doesn't do anything else. It doesn't add value anywhere else. Now, if he shoots 52, anywhere close to 52, obviously he won't shoot 52% in the NBA. But if he shoots 42% every single year, he'll always have a job and he'll always have a role. He had 13 assists in 500 minutes this year. He doesn't put the ball down. He was 13 of 37 on pull-ups. He's just really just a total catch and shoot guy, and that's fine. But I think you have to really, put a cap on his ceiling in terms of if he goes to a good team where he could just, run off screens. I mean, he was 51% off screens, 49% off the catch. He was unbelievable this year. But again, 14 games, his team lost like 6 or 7 times of the 14 games he played, and 5 of them were to like shitty non-conference teams. And Stackhouse drew up some really good plays for him. So he had a lot of good open looks. Listen, I'm not saying he's not a good shooter. He's definitely a good shooter. But I think if we're talking about the Knicks at number 8, I think that would be a major reach. I have him more as a guy in the 20s.
Got to be a bit more well-rounded for sure. Shout out my guy Robert Parrish. He sends in a super chat. He says, Tibbs ain't starting no rookie except for Obi. I think that was a response to the Killian Hayes talk. Interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how Tibbs, formulates his roster and his philosophy if they go vet heavy. Begley did say that, the feeling was that they're going to put a roster together that competes for something. And it's not just going to be, it's not going to be about tanking or just all the way development. Tibbs was on the record as saying in regards to, Frank Ntilikina and Dennis Smith Jr., he said, their player development is important, but the team development is even more important. So, I say that to say because a lot of fans are taking a lot of stock into this new player development philosophy that, they're trying to implement here and the Johnny Bryants and Kenny Paynes. But I'm just not sure, all these young guys are just not going to, I don't think they're all going to be here. And to think that they're all just going to, take this next step into being, great players on this team, I think we got to pump the brakes a little bit.
Yeah, and I honestly don't think, and I've said it from the beginning, I don't really think the Knicks are going to take Killian Hayes. I just don't see them pulling the trigger on, and for the exact reasons I said before. You're going to Thibodeau's going to take a rookie point guard who can't shoot and makes bad decisions and ask him to run the team. I feel like he's going to not want that as his starting point guard. And he'd rather them sign, a guy who's one of those journeymen.
Yeah.
And can Killian make the guys around him better as a 19-year-old with his particular weaknesses? I think they're going to have too many questions, and God forbid they screwed up taking another French point guard.
Oh man! See you later. Season tickets. At
it. Leon Rose's first big move. I just think there's too much pressure to make that call unless they're like so certain that he's a star caliber point guard. Because point guards, that's another thing. Like if you're going to take a point guard top 10, you better be damn sure he's going to be like a top 15 starting NBA point guard.
Right.
Because you don't want to take a point guard at number 8 and he ends up being like, a good backup. That would be bad.
How about, and we're going to get to the call. I see some callers coming in. How about Lewis? I see some guys feel like he's in that 8 to 14 range. You haven't mentioned him. What's your thoughts on Kira Lewis?
So I like Kira Lewis. I don't like him at number 8. And I kind of compare him to Dennis Schroeder. I think that's, and he's a good player. He had a great year this year, Schroeder. I think I think Lewis is going to be a good point guard in the NBA, but not a star point guard. And I just wonder if it's worth taking a good point, like for the same exact reasons. Like, I don't think he elevates the roster. I don't think he moves the needle for the Knicks at number 8. If you can get him as your second player in this draft, if they can take somebody at 8 and then find a way to package 38 and 27 and somebody else and move up and get Lewis, that's fine. But I think to bank on like the next 5 years of this rebuild, bank on Lewis being your starting point guard. I have too many questions about his decision making. I have too many questions about his ability to execute efficiently as a finisher, as a playmaker, as a shooter. I mean, I think he's going to be able to put points on the board. He's going to be able to create opportunities. But for him to have the ball in his hands for 30 minutes, and this is the guy you're trusting to run the offense, I'm not buying it.
Well, whether it's Kira or it's Hayes, I think ideally for me, whether they make the Paul trade and hopefully they don't, pay too much. Whether it's Paul, whether it's Conley, whether it's a DJ Augustine or a Jeff Teague or something like that, I still think having a kid that you can develop under those guys would serve them well for the future, because we just have not solved the point guard problem in so many years. And I think without having that engine, when it comes to that team development, I think you're going to suffer.
Yeah, and that's, having the draft before free agency. Like if the Knicks, we knew who the Knicks got in free agency, it would be a lot easier to talk about who they should draft.
That's a fact, and I'm advocating that it should be the other way around. I think for your free agency should come first, and then the draft. All right, let's go to the phone. Salute to everybody in the chat. Hit that thumbs up button for you boys. We got 877 on the check-in, creeping up on 900 people. Salute to everybody watching. Once again, make sure to share these videos. Remember, these videos are available in audio podcast format as well. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Amazon Alexa, and Stitcher. All right, let's go to the West Coast. Josh is with us. Josh, how you feeling, bro?
Feeling good, CP. How you doing? And John, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, no problem.
What's going on, man?
First point I want to make is, sorry about that. First point I want to make is, I don't understand the obsession with the Knicks, trying to go out, or Knicks fans wanting the Knicks to, go after a point guard in the draft. I think now more and more the NBA is becoming more positionless, and you're just seeing big men bringing the ball down the court. You're seeing, any one of the positions bring the ball up the court and set up the offense. So I really don't understand where that's coming from. As far as that proposed trade earlier, trading up to the number 4 spot for Halliburton, I agree with you, CP. I think the Knicks need to go after the best player available, and Halliburton at 4 won't be the best player available. I think that would be Toppin. I called before, and I'm all in on the Knicks getting Obi Toppin. And the last thing I have a question for Jonathan. What are the chances that the Knicks trade their later 2 picks, the 27 and 38, and maybe one of the other younger players to get up in the lottery and get 2 picks in the lottery? So keep 8 and trade away their 2 later picks plus, something else, so they can have 2 draft picks in the top 10. Thanks.
Appreciate the call, man. Jonathan, what's your takes on his trade proposal?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on if there's a guy that they love, right? So like if there's somebody that they love at 14, they think that he's worth moving up for. I don't know who it's going to be. Yeah. And the problem with this draft, and like a trade like that probably wouldn't go down till the last second, because teams have no idea who's going to be on the board, who's going to be off the board. So it's just so hard to predict if they would do that, who they do it for, and they're not going to have any idea who's going to be there. So that's why these trades this year are going to be so crazy and so hard to predict. And teams are going to have like a million different scenarios. I'm sure the Knicks probably have a scenario. Like, you're right. There's no doubt in my mind that the Knicks have wrote down and talked about the possibility of moving those 2 picks up for player X. I don't know who player X is, but I'm sure they said, okay, if player X is on the board, let's talk to San Antonio about like moving down and taking these 2 picks and just seeing like, if he's on the board, let's pull this trade off. But it's a lot of hypotheticals, and there's just no possible way to know if they're going to go down and what would go down.
A lot of hypotheticals. On the point guard topic, I think with me, Josh, I'm not a point guard or bust guy, but as I said to Jonathan prior to this, I think it's important to start that process. Maybe not for the starting point guard, but get a guy into the system. We continue to patchwork these guys. Alfred Payton, he stinks. He's a backup point guard. You know what I mean? Like Frank, I love Frank. I think he can be a nice glue guy for Tibbs, but I don't see him as a starting point guard. We need an engine. I think people looked at, everybody's not Jokic. Jokic has established himself as a top 5, top 10 player in this league. He's a phenomenal floor general for that team. Everybody's not Bam with those skills. I think the point guard issues would doom the Clippers in the bubble. I still think when things bog down, you need that engine that can collapse that defense, get you guys easier shots, especially when the defenses are adjusting to what you're doing out there, so that you're not just settling for isolation. I think it's important until you can get that game changer that defenses actually respect. Nobody respects anybody on the Knicks that handles the ball. That's just my opinion. All right, back to the phones. Let's go to Baltimore. Justin, what's going on, man?
What's going on, fellas? How y'all doing, man? I'm back again. I just wanted to ask a question. About Jaden McDaniels. What do you think of him as a prospect? Do you think he can be an actually good pro? I also want to talk about Obi Toppin. Do you think the Knicks should trade Julius Randle and try to pick up Obi Toppin because he can stretch the floor? And my last question is, what do you think about the 2021 class? Who do you think the Knicks should target? I know it's a little early.
It's not too early for that question. The Knicks should do everything to get Cade Cunningham. If the Knicks could get Cade Cunningham, the whole narrative shifts on the Knicks rebuild. Like, I think Cade Cunningham will be at Oklahoma State is one of the best prospects I've scouted since doing this. And not only is he a phenomenal prospect, but he's a 6'8" point guard whose signature is making guys around him better, and he's added a 3-ball. And like Cunningham is just, he's in that. There's Zion, there's Anthony Davis. Like, he's in that level, I think, of prospect, and of course Doncic as well. But yeah, so and by the way, yeah, I love Obi Toppin too. I have him top 5, and I'd certainly rather have Toppin over Julius Randle. So if there's a way that they could unload that Randle contract and find a way to move up for Toppin, sure, I'm in. And Toppin's you're gonna need to trade up. He's not slipping to number 8. There's too many teams that like him. And in fact, I think if you want to make a long shot bet for number 1 pick in the draft, like, put $5 to win whatever it is, like Toppin is that guy, because there are teams who have him top 2, and people really like Toppin. They're not so concerned with the defense. As for Jaden McDaniels, so I've watched Jaden McDaniels for a long time, man. I've seen him courtside in high school. You watch him during warm-ups, and you're like, this kid is a top 5 pick. He's got every tool and skill for a 6'9" combo forward/wing. And then he shows up half the time on the court. And, things that bother me. He's 6'9", and he shoots 40% from the field and averaged over 3 turnovers per game. His highlights are amazing. His lowlights make you want nothing to do with him. And there's been a lot of questions dating back to high school about his motor, his intensity. He drifts out there. And those are the fact that we saw them at Washington this year is concerning, that he couldn't get rid of them. Having said that, you can't ignore the talent. Again, he's 6'9". He handles and pick and rolls. He's got a sweet stroke from 3. He can create his own shot. He makes exciting defensive plays. Like if he puts it all together and he just locks in mentally and maybe he gets a good coaching staff around him that can help maximize his potential, then yeah, he's an NBA player. But honestly, the downside, when I think of the worst case scenario for Jaden McDaniels, I think of Kevin Knox.
Yeah. We have enough of that already, man.
We love the idea of Kevin Knox coming out of Kentucky, right? The idea of a 6'9" jumbo wing who could shoot the three and attack in straight lines and play some pick and roll. But that idea was never realistic. He couldn't execute like a guard. And so that's kind of the same thing with my fear with Jaden McDaniels, that we love the idea of him, but he doesn't really have the substance. He's not really going to be able to execute the flashes, the highlights. But yeah, a lot of talent. I just think I just really question whether or not he can maximize it.
High risk, high reward, man. Let's go back to the phones. Ron from Long Island. What's going on, Ron?
How's it going, my guys?
How you doing, bro?
You kind of brought it up already in regards to I wanted to know if Killian Hayes was Frank 2.0, and if he was, I definitely wouldn't want to pick him in the draft. So that being said, I think at 8, I don't think the Knicks should be focusing on a point guard. They should go for a guy like Okoro, and maybe at 27, get a guy like R.J. Hampton or Cole Anthony. What do you guys think?
I mean, if you can get Cole Anthony at 27, sign me up. So Okoro, I know, has gotten a lot of buzz about a possible pick for the Knicks. And I'll give you the pros and cons. Like the pros are the Knicks need toughness, right? They need defense. They can just bank on Okoro being one of those guys who's probably going to stick in the league forever just by making life difficult for opposing wings and forwards and, a good locker room guy and just, again, total toughness. I talked to a scout yesterday who is like, somebody's going to reach on him just like they did with Justice Winslow on the intangibles. And like, you love his energy and his defense, but the track record of players who shoot below 30% from three and 70% from the line, the track record of them improving as shooters is really bad. And so I think best case, I think you hope from in terms of shooting development, Jaylen Brown, who's still not a good shooter. I haven't seen his numbers lately. I think he made a nice jump later in his career. Yeah. But I think he really has to make a lot of improvement offensively to hold enough value offensively. I mean, one of the reasons I like Okoro offensively, he shoots 60% inside the arc. He doesn't really take bad shots. He's a very good finisher around the basket. But for a wing player, a perimeter guy, he doesn't really create much. And he doesn't really score off the dribble away from the basket. And he's not really stretching your defense. Him and Barrett next to each other.
Brutal. I said it's the New York Bricks, man. That's gonna be tough to watch.
Yeah, with Mitch clogging the lane, but standing around. I mean, you really have to fill if you're building around Okoro and RJ and Mitch, you really have to fill the gaps with like the perfect puzzle piece shooters to make it work. And so I just have too many problems with Okoro. Even though I said best player available. Like, I don't think he's the type of guy where Okoro is a lot more attractive if he goes to a good team. Like Draymond Green, is you put him in Golden State and suddenly you have this star 5-tool type of guy. But you put Draymond Green on the Knicks, and we're probably not talking about the same Draymond Green.
I agree with you 100%, man. I think a standalone prospect, I think he's fine. Defense is our calling card, right? You and I are around the same age. We our first words growing up was defense, so we know what a guy like him would bring to MSG. But man, you talk about you throw him, RJ, and Mitch in there. I can't have two guys that need to figure it out shooting wise and get it together from the free throw line, and that's their calling card. RJ, he's gonna bully his way to the line. Okoro the same way, but we got to earn it. Those are free points. So tough fit, man. Tough fit. All right, couple more questions for Jonathan. Let's go to Yonkers YO. Joe's with us. Joe, what's going on?
What's happening, CP? How you doing, buddy? How you doing, Jonathan?
Good, man. How you feeling?
I have a couple of questions actually for you. I was looking there. I've seen a lot about teams looking to actually trade their picks to get rid of bad contracts due to the salary cap going down. I was just wondering if you heard anything about what teams might be actually looking to trade their picks with bad contracts. And would you think that the Knicks would be interested in taking on salaries with the contracts? And another one about what do you think about Sadiq Bey and possibly being a stretch four?
Yeah, so I've heard honestly I talked to somebody the other day, and he's like, I've heard a trade rumor about every single team in the top 10. And so everybody's looking to move in terms of, getting rid of contracts with the picks. I don't know. I haven't heard anything specifically about it. I'm sure it's being discussed. Teams just don't love anybody in this draft. So it's certainly possible. And I'm telling you, every single team is talking trade. Sadiq Bey, a lot to like about Sadiq Bey. I wouldn't take him at number 8. I mean, if we're talking about, he probably won't be there at 27, so you'd probably have to trade up for him from 27. Bey, obviously his body is really impressive. And like you said, stretch 4. I don't like him as a 3. I question whether or not he's guarding wings around the perimeter. He's a bit slower footed.
Yeah.
But I think pretty perfect stretch 4 type in today's league. Of course, 46% from downtown. The shot looked pretty good.
Love it.
Much better off the catch than off the dribble. 29% on pull-ups. And so I question with Bey, what else translates other than his shot? And I talked to most scouts have been pretty positive on him. The one who played devil's advocate, who wasn't very high on him, was like, well, he's a system player at Villanova that makes everybody better, that team. And if his shot's not on, like, what's he doing? He's not really putting pressure on you, driving to the basket. I don't think he's going to be a plus defender. I think he can hold his own against power forwards. But if his shot's not on, I'm not really sure what he brings to the table. I think that's a little harsh, honestly. I mean, I think he's a good decision maker. He actually graded really well in pick and roll situations, not really as a passer, but mostly he used his body well to get downhill on drives. But he's a really high character guy. Everybody raves about him in terms of interviews and locker room stuff and just being a good person and coming from a good background. And of course, all these Villanova kids get rave reviews.
Yeah.
But
they turn out to be pretty decent pros. You see Bridges taking that step up, Jalen Brunson doing his thing.
Yeah.
Pascal with the Warriors doing his thing as well.
Yeah. I think people see a nice little role player. Nobody that you'd reach on, but I think if you can get him in the mid to late first round, I think that's a fine pick.
Yeah. Yeah, my guy Joe calling in from Yonkers. He's from Ireland, though, man, by way of the Emerald Isle. So shout out my guy Joe. And in terms of your salary question, the Knicks should absolutely be players in terms of taking on, dead contracts, reclamation projects. Weaponize the cap. We're not getting any of these top tier free agents. So I think they need to be smart with the cap and continue to build. Let's build some prospects up for that Cade Cunningham blockbuster trade, man. I think that's what it's going to take. So. Let's do it. Let's go to Shaolin. Louis with us. Louis, how you feeling, man?
Hey, CP John, what's up, fellas? How's everything going?
What's going on, bro? What's your topic?
Real quick, I just wanted to discuss. Earlier this week, SNYTV put out a post with a crazy trade scenario talking about Chris Paul. And I'm open to trading for Chris Paul, but I'm not open to giving it up the whole roster for Chris Paul, plus draft picks. So, they were talking about Bobby Portis, Alfred Payton, Kevin Knox, Frank, and a future first-round pick. And my thing is, with that trade, if we're trading up all those players and future picks, and we're taking back that huge salary in CP3, I can see that handcuffing us in the future when trying to round out our roster. So I just want to see your thoughts on the CP3 trade. I would like to have CP3 on our team. I think he'll be great in the development of RJ Barrett and Mitchell Robinson, the 2 corner pieces that I want to build around. But at the same time, that salary, that contract really scares me moving forward. So I'll let you guys go. Big fan of the show. Keep it up. Everybody hit that thumbs up.
Hit that thumbs up button for you boys.
You guys have a good night, all right?
Louis, appreciate it, man. We're over 1,000 people in the chat. Hit that thumbs up button for you boys.
Hit that thumbs up. Hit that thumbs up.
There you go. Yeah, man.
Fellas.
Absolutely, bro. Take care. Listen, Jonathan, man, I would love the CP3 trade. Obviously, with the season that he's had, he was outstanding. And who the potential trade partners out there, whether it's Milwaukee or, so on. I think the price is going up. So I don't, it just seems like same old Knicks, man. If you're going to tell me that the Knicks are now going to trade potential draft prospects, a young guy, to take on a CP3 with $80 million left, that hammy's gonna go at some point, man. He's 35, 36. Something's gonna happen, man. He had an aberration type of season in terms of injuries. Give me your thoughts on it.
I mean, the whole point of getting Chris Paul would be to make like the young guys better. So
Sure.
you can't give up Frank and Knox in your picks if you're gonna get. What's the point?
Right.
I see how it could, give the Knicks some credibility. I could see, of course, he'd help RJ and Mitch, but I wouldn't give up picks. I don't know what picks they were talking about in the proposed deal. I wouldn't give up.
I think it was one of the Dallas ones, and that's one I definitely would not. The 2021, I definitely would not touch the 2021, especially with Kristaps, paper mache over there in Dallas. It could be very worthwhile, that pick.
That's true, and I'm excited about the next couple year drafts. And again, I mean, like, I would want Chris Paul to come here and make Kevin Knox into something, and help turn Frank into like a good combo guard who could play off the ball more. And to give them up for him, it seems like counterproductive. I see both sides. I see why you could want Chris Paul after everything the Knicks have been through over the past how many years with the point guard play, but not for me.
Yeah, I agree, man. Definitely agree. You got time for one more call?
Yeah.
All right, let's go with it. We got to go to my guy in Florida. His name is Jay, but we call him the anti-Halliburton. Jay, what's going on, man?
Man, John, man, what's CP? What's up, man? Run it up, man. Run it up.
Hit that thumbs up button for you boys.
Hit the subscribe button. Listen, if you're telling me that the Knicks would trade up for Halliburton, bro, I don't think I'll watch the Knicks ever again, bro. I'll renege my fan card. Never again will I watch the team, bro. I just do not see it, brother. I don't see Halliburton being anything but a solid role player. I'm good. I'm out. But my main thing is, like, you're saying that a lot of these players from 8 to 14 just okay, right? So why don't the Knicks just trade up? Let's get LaMelo in the building. Let's get Anthony Edwards in the building. Tips with Anthony Edwards might be something special. Let's not try to trade for Cp3 and these vets that don't have nothing left. Use the picks that you got. Except the 21 pick. Use the picks that you got. Let's try to see if we can trade up for LaMelo and Anthony Edwards. Go big or go home. There's no point in just draft another role player. We need some actual talent. How do you think it's possible that they might trade up? Do you think it's something that might happen? And I take it off the air. CP, holler at me.
All right, man. Appreciate it, Jake.
Yeah, so I think they're definitely going to try. Like, they're going to talk to Golden State. They're going to talk to Minnesota. I don't know what Minnesota or Golden State are going to ask for. And I'm sure the first call from Minnesota or Golden State are going to be like, okay, you got to give me Mitchell Robinson.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the Knicks are going to be hesitant to do that, considering he's the only sure thing on the roster. And it's not like LaMelo Ball is like – LaMelo is my number one prospect. He's been number one on my board from November. But he's not a typical number one. Like, I don't have the same level of confidence in LaMelo Ball as I do for my previous number ones on my board. And so, I think there's a little bit a reluctance to say that LaMelo is the type who can turn the franchise around. And to give up the only sure thing on the roster, I have trouble seeing the Knicks trading Mitch to go after LaMelo, who struggles with shooting and defense. And honestly, I go back and forth in my head of, like, should the Knicks do that if they do ask for Mitch to get LaMelo? I almost think that I probably would do it, just because I think it's a gamble worth taking. I don't think Mitchell Robinson is the type who's going to change everything for the Knicks. Mm-hmm. And LaMelo has a chance to change the identity, change the way they play. Again, create shots, get the offense flowing, which they just never have before. But I just don't see the Knicks. I just don't see the new front office coming in and being willing to take such a gamble like that.
With Edwards, I'm hearing another, motor issue with him. Is that what you're hearing with the scouts you speak to?
There are a lot of guys low on Edwards, and I still think he's going to go early in the draft. But man, some of the worries with Edwards in terms of these background checks, like all these scouts have had to do for the past couple of months is background checks. There's only so many times you can watch these games. They've made like 100 calls to family members, to friends, to the guy who served them a sandwich at the deli, like anyone that's been in contact with these guys to get a feel for who they are. And there's so much negative feedback on Edwards. Having said that, he's clearly a ridiculous talent. 6'5", 225, explosive, amazing shot creator, shot maker from all three levels. But his team finished 13 to 14 in the SEC. He just, there's a lot of bad habits on the floor. Like his shot selection is terrible. He has a really bad feel for the game. I actually think, I think the Knicks should have no part of Anthony Edwards, just based on their current roster. I think Edwards needs to go to a team that already has a culture and discipline and veterans to keep him in check, because there's so much of his game that's just like pound the ball for 20 seconds and launch a 35-foot pull-up, and that's his game. And yeah, he can make that shot, but that's kind of what he lives on. And, like I saw a stat the other day with Edwards. I try not to ramble, but 78 guys took as many pull-ups as he did, and he finished 75th in terms of percentages. And I mean, he's just not a very efficient player to go to a team that has no real talent to play off. But yeah, he's talented. I think everyone's hoping he's Donovan Mitchell or Oladipo. But I just don't think he's right for the Knicks.
I think it's going to be a crapshoot, man. But Jonathan, I definitely appreciate you coming on and giving us some time. You're a busy guy, so I definitely appreciate it. Just let the fans know what you're working on and where they can find you on Twitter.
Yeah, I'm at NBA Draft Was on Twitter. We're just trying to get creative, with content. I know we've been talking about the same guys for like 7 years. It feels like. I don't know how much longer I can talk about LaMelo Ball for, but we're finding new ways to get creative. I'm talking to a lot of teams. That's really the most interesting thing is what we're hearing. And right now, everyone is kind of exchanging information. Everybody wants to trade information and hear new things and what everyone's thinking. And so that's, I'm trying to play in that game. It's a lot of fun to listen to, and I can't believe there's still like 5 more weeks to go. But maybe with workouts, we'll have some new things to talk about. So just, keep tuned in. The draft conversation never really shuts off.
Yeah, man, we'll definitely be tuned in and appreciate all the coverage. Hopefully free agency time, you'll come back and join us, man. Thanks again.
I'm in.
All righty, man. That's Jonathan Wasserman with Bleacher Report. Salute to everybody in the chat. Once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. We are at 1,062. We need to get those likes up. Let's get those likes up. 1,062 people here in the chat. NBA draft Q&A going on. The season is over, but they want to hear that Knicks talk. So definitely salute to everybody in the chat. Tonight's show is sponsored by my friends at Manscaped. Fellas, you got to make sure that you're taking care of the lawn, man. Manscaped is the #1 men's grooming tool below the belt. Comes with a state-of-the-art design, a ceramic blade, LED light, wireless charger, extra long battery life. You can use it in the shower. It's also waterproof. And on tonight's show, for our viewers, if you go to manscaped.com and enter promo code Knicks on your purchase, you're going to get 20% off plus free shipping. So it's a great deal. A lot of guys have been tapping into this deal. I don't need to hear the success stories. Just go ahead and get the product. It's certified, man. I trust it. And make sure you guys go to manscaped.com, promo code Knicks, and enter for 20% off and free shipping. All right. So that was Jonathan Wasserman of Bleacher Report. Definitely appreciate the time, Jonathan. Let me go back to the phones. Let's hear from Two. Two, what's going on? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, what's going on, man? How's everything? What's your topic?
CP, oh man, my first time. Hey, man, much props to the show. I love it.
No doubt.
Keeping me going through this corona. Hello?
Yep. Yeah. I'm still here, bro. I'm still here. Go ahead with your point.
I couldn't hear you.
Okay.
Hey, yeah, I got 2 things. I wonder why everybody killing Kevin Knox so bad here, man. Like that sucks. It's David Fizdale that caused his problems here. And now we stood this long for Frank Ntilikina for 4 years. We can't give Kevin Knox a little leeway here?
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, with Knox, it's not just Fizz. He's on his third. He's gonna be on his third coach with Thibodeau in 3 years. There's been questions about his motor. You heard Jonathan talking about Jaden McDaniels and Anthony Edwards in terms of them just keeping their heads in the game. I think those same issues have followed Knox from Kentucky. So again, up and down rookie year, a worse sophomore year. So we're trying to figure out where Kev stands right now.
I thought he was doing good, and I thought he was doing a little good until his Fizdale started to worry about his job and decided he wanted to start yelling at him and doing some coaching. I think that's what shot his confidence. But I think he should be all right, especially since we stood this long for Frank. We all hated Frank in the first couple of years, too.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
I have a I got a free agent thing for you. I wanted to see for you. Now the Knicks throwing the bag at Brandon Ingram and Joe Harris.
So I don't think Ingram is realistic. Harris, who knows? We'll see. I got to see what do the Nets have up their sleeve in terms of the upgrade. And appreciate the call, man. What do the Nets have up their sleeve in terms of upgrade, and how does that impact Joe Harris? What will the salary cap be? What do they feel like Joe Harris's market price will be? What they've said, they said all the right things. They want to bring him back. They definitely want to bring him back. I think, just speaking objectively, I think he'd be a great role player alongside Katie and Kyrie. He'd be excellent. I think Joe Harris is a needed piece for the Nets if they want to move forward, but I would take him. I would love to take him on this Knicks team. There's no doubt about it. I've been a big fan of Joe Harris for a number of years now. He stepped his game up big time. Give credit to Kenny Atkinson and the Nets for, developing him. And he's certainly done well. So let's see what happens there. Who else we got in the chat, man? Salute to everybody in the chat. Once again, over 1,000 people in here. It's a good time. Let me salute the super chats. Let me get to Vlad. He says, he had a question for Jonathan Wasserman. He says, who do you think is a sleeper in the draft that you predict will be a future perennial all-star? So we'll definitely have to shoot that out to Wasserman, and hopefully we'll get that back to you. Royal Hebrew Remnant says, why are we tripping about Hayes or Lewis when 2021 is loaded with point guard talent? Work with what we have finally and see where we are next draft. Again, with me, I'm not point guard or bust, but I think one of these three picks should be a guy that we can take in to develop. I can't fix myself on what next year is going to bring because you just don't know. You first have to get through the year. What's your record going to be? What's your lottery positioning going to be? And is there a better player that you like at that whatever spot that is? So I just don't think you could say, all right, next year's crop is bigger. It's the same thing for me like going after free agents. You just can't guarantee yourself that you're going to get that person. Now, Cade Cunningham obviously is the guy, but would they be able to package up everything and go get him? Or is that team that's going to be sitting in the number one slot focused on getting him? So it's a lot of things to consider. It's a lot of things to consider. So personally, I would go into the draft and get one, even if they're not going to be ready day one or they're still going to need some time to develop. I personally would do that. Because you're now telling me that we have to rely on the development of all these kids, including Frank, including DSJ, including, you guys are bringing up Jared Harper in the G League. I just don't think it's realistic to think that a lot of these guys are going to be here playing prominent roles on this team. I think we actually need to shake out some of the excess on this team and really drill down on what we're trying to do. Shout out Gary Legend for the super chat. He says, where would you put RJ if he was in this year's draft? Where would you guys put RJ if he was in this year's draft? It's an interesting question. Third? Is he ahead of Edwards? Is he behind Edwards? Ahead of LaMelo? Behind LaMelo? I still put RJ within the top 5 of this draft, for sure. I would definitely do that. You guys are sour on RJ, man. What's his name? Tyler Hero from the Heat. Got you guys souring on RJ, man. I still got faith in the Maple Mamba. Still got faith in them if they put a proper roster together. So let's see. One of the things that put the Knicks at an advantageous position is that it's all about options, man. If you guys have heard the interview that I did with Brandon Williams, the former GM of the Kings. When we talked about, what the Knicks should be doing in the draft or, what they should be doing in free agency. He said, what? It's not about locking in on one guy, but it's about having options. And that's what the Knicks have. They have a ton of draft picks. They have a ton of cap space. So they can be players in a lot of different scenarios. Like Jonathan said on the broadcast, they definitely have a lot of moves lined up, a lot of transactions lined up, and you have to, because you just don't know what's going to be available to you. You don't know what's going to be finalized at the negotiation table. So, you have to have those options. You have to have those options. Let's go back to the chat. A lot of people saying RJ clear number 1 in this draft. Somebody said RJ 7, easy number 1, clear number 1. Ben Shomion says 4. Yeah, I think RJ will be right there. I don't see why people are sour on him as it relates to this draft. I wouldn't see that. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. 1,005 in the chat. I wonder if we should do a giveaway, man. A lot of people are feeling this fitted, man. Who wants this fitted? Who wants this fitted? This is an NBA draft fitted for 2020. Maybe we'll give this one away. Let's give, not this one on my head, obviously. I mean, my hair is clean. I'm a clean guy, but let's do that giveaway. Dave, if you have the mailing list form, make sure you guys are signing up for the mailing list. Very important that we keep your information offline. We don't sell it or anything. It's just for information purposes. Dave, if you can get that form in the chat, let's do a giveaway in a couple minutes, and we'll give away this draft hat. We got 1,000 people in the chat, so let's give away this draft hat. Other news that has come out today, matter of fact, a couple things. As I said earlier, Shams had reported that the draft in-person workouts are kicking off starting on the 16th. So teams will be able to schedule up to 2 sessions per prospect, no more than 10 total sessions for all prospects. All right, so we had the virtual sessions. We had their mixtape. The guys were making their mixtapes. And so now they're going to do the in-person session from October 16th to November 16th. And those teams will be receiving up to 2 visits per player, no more than 10 total among prospects. All right, so what do you guys think? Give me 3 guys who you feel like, who would be the first 3 guys? That was a question that was posed to me earlier today. Who would be the first 3 prospects you would bring in if you were the Knicks? Who would be the first 3 prospects that you guys would bring in? What do you guys think about that? So that's going to kick off this week. So, hey, listen, it's 5 weeks away, but things are going to pick up pretty fast. Another article from The Athletic, this is from John Hollinger, says that free agency could potentially start December 1st. So you have the draft on November 18th, and you have free agency on the 1st. So things are going to pick up quite quickly. That means, because all these teams are trying to factor in how the salary cap is going to impact them, that means they feel like they're going to determine the salary cap by early to mid-November. Early to mid-November is when they anticipate the salary cap will be set. And then teams will know, okay, how am I going to draft, right? Is it Golden State if the cap is too low? Do they get concerned financially and really want to trade back now? Because remember, there's a rookie scale per draft pick. So obviously the further to the top you get, the more money that rookie's going to make. So a team like a Golden State, there's a lot of cap implications for a team like that. But Golden State also has a lot of flexibility as well, because they had the Wiggins contract that they could dangle out there. They have $17 million in the Iguodala trade exception. So Golden State has some room to maneuver. So you have that, right? Salary cap mid-November, draft November 18th, free agency December 1st. Start of the season. They think the schedule will be made sometime in December. They're aiming for January 18th, MLK Day, to start next season. Obviously, the 3 objectives, says John Hollinger, for next season in terms of creating a schedule, reducing travel, play 82 games in less time, and reduce COVID-19 exposure. Obviously, they want to do all this with some sort of fans in the building, right? That obviously increases revenue. Clearly, that's what they want. They don't want to do it without fans. So they're banking on a lot of things, a lot of unknowns right now. So those are some of the dates. And he also proposes, he says, you could potentially play 82 games by having each team play 8 games against division opponents, 4 games against each other teams in its conference, and a total of just 10 non-conference games, 5 home, 5 on the road, and a quick sweep through the division. So the schedule's going to be different next season. A lot of changes. So that's very interesting. What else we got here? Let me make sure Dave is passing out the mailing list. Make sure you guys sign up for that, and we'll get the giveaway going. Let's check the phones. JJ from Brooklyn, how you feeling, bro?
Yo, what up, bro? How's everything, man? Hope everything's going good, man.
Good, man. How you feeling?
Good, thanks. So, yeah, just want to make a couple quick points. One was with Obi Toppin. In a way, I could see why the Knicks would think about drafting him, just because I think it's a really good fit next to Mitch. They both basically do something well that the other doesn't. You know, Mitch could cover his defensive flaws, where, you know, Toppin could, you know, he could post up, stretch the floor, 2 things that Mitch hasn't shown he could do yet. You know, like, I don't think we have to take a point guard at 8, even at 27. You know, if you told me we were going to get a Vassell and a Bain, or, you know, a Naismith and a Bain, like, I would be really happy with that. I just don't want them to trade up. This isn't the draft to trade, you know, to the top 3.
Yeah.
Save your picks, you know, for next year's draft is, you know, don't trade our pick, obviously. Don't even trade the Mavs pick. You know, I see people that are like, just trade the Mavs pick, it's going to be the 30th pick. I'm like, I totally disagree. I can see that pick being, it wouldn't shock me if that pick was in the teens. You know, KP's already, you know, hurt again. They're in a loaded Western Conference, you know, so just keep your picks, just keep building this thing the right way. Don't trade for Chris Paul. Don't trade up in this draft. Just keep building this thing, man.
Yeah.
You know, that's it. Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate it, bro. And I agree with you. Number one, I don't think they're going to trade up. I don't think they're going to trade up for LaMelo, even if it's cheap. I don't see them going that route for LaMelo. And on Toppin, I would take Toppin if he's there. I would take Toppin because I still think they're going to try to trade Randall. Will they get him off? We'll see. But I still do think they're going to try to trade Randall. And I would definitely take Toppin. I'm not as low on him as some of the naysayers. I would definitely take him. I respect his game a lot. So salute to JJ. Definitely appreciate the call. Make sure you sign up for the giveaway, bro. All right, let's go to Meech in Queens. Big Meech, what's going on, bro?
Yo, what's up, DB, Knicks Nation?
How you feeling, bro? How's everything?
How you doing, man? I live in Queens Village, but I recently moved to Jamaica, the island. So you got fans out here in Jamaica, man.
Of course I got fans out there in Jamaica, man. Big up all the yard men then, man. Of course, no question, bro. No question. Where in Jamaica are you, bro?
In Kingston.
Okay, that's what's up, man. That's what's up. Hey, man, I'm jealous. I got a lot of family out there in Kingston too, man. So hopefully when the virus subsides, I'm trying to get out there immediately, bro. Trust me. So yeah, definitely. What's your point tonight?
Yeah, and the COVID is not that high out here as it is in the States.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. So what's the topic for tonight?
What I wanted to talk to you about was the Phoenix Suns, man. They seem like they're not going to have a lot of money to spend, and they want to get rid of Kelly Oubre because of the emergence of Cam Johnson. So I think they were trying to package Kelly Oubre in the 10th pick. You think we can get that without giving up R.J. Mitch or the 8th pick?
I mean, I wouldn't be trading RJ and Mitch or any pick to go get Kelly Oubre. Appreciate the call, but listen, if there's a swap to be made for 8 and 10, and maybe some other considerations by Phoenix, and you're gonna get Kelly Oubre out of that, I would look into that. I would certainly look into it. You know, that's a deal I would look into. That type of salary exchange. You know, I would certainly look into that. But no, they wouldn't have to trade RJ and Mitch for that. They're certainly not. Definitely not. So to everybody in Jamaica, one more time, man. Everybody in the chat, throw your cities in the chat. Throw your cities in the chat. Be honest. No Icelands, no Antarcticas, no Wakandas in the chat. Throw your cities in the chat. And let me know where you guys are checking in from. Also, if you guys are new in the chat, leave a hashtag new so we can shout you guys out. Everybody feeling Jamaican here. The chat is going crazy. My chat is going crazy. I can barely even read it. Yeah, man. Salute to Jamaica for sure. All right, back to the phones. My guy Zay from Maryland. Zay, talk to me, bro. How you feeling?
What's going on, CP? It's been a long time. How you been?
Yeah, man. Long time, bro. Hope you being safe with all that's going on, man. Hope everything is well down there.
Yeah, man. Just staying out the way. You know how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a topic. Well, not really a topic. I see a lot of people just sending out all types of fleecing draft requests, and we going after every team's top player for the Knicks. I don't know why. I think the smartest move for the Knicks that they most likely would do. I think we're staying pat. We're not doing any splashy moves this year. It makes no sense. I think this is the most inconsistent off season of in a while. So I don't think they're gonna make any moves. I think they're probably just gonna stay pat, bring back a majority of the players from last year, and pretty much focus on developing the young guys with whatever shooters we have. I think that's the smartest idea, just because we do have shooters. We've had shooters, a lot of career shooters we had on the team last year.
Yeah.
The problem is that they were never put in the right position. There's no reason why some of the players were bringing the ball down the court and stuff like that. So I think they're going to focus on just playing better basketball, smarter basketball this season coming. And we're not going to go after no big free agents because there's nobody out there. As far as the draft, same thing. I don't think that we're going to do any big trade ups or trade downs or do any craziness. I think it's just best player available. The talent across the whole draft isn't the margin of talent isn't that great where you're going to trade up or down for a player. I think it's all about best player available and fit. And so, I mean, I think it's going to be a very straightforward off season. So, I mean, I hear a lot of fans throwing out all types of trades, and it's crazy. But I don't think that's going to happen, though. That's just my opinion on it.
All right, appreciate the call, man. I mean, my take is, like I said, from Ian Begley, what he was saying was that they're gonna compete. I mean, when I say compete, I want to be careful by saying obviously no player, but they're gonna push to be a respectable team out there. So you think they're gonna bring back all these free agents? I don't. I think they will keep Taj. I think they will definitely keep Bullock. I think he's the most valuable piece they have from a contract perspective. He's dirt cheap, and I hate to say that, they gotta make money, but it's a very favorable deal for them in terms of his production and usage as well. But I do think with the cap space they have, they will go out and go get more of those 1-year deals, those 1-year balloon contracts, and I think that's how they should be using the cap. They should be either taking on a contract that the team can't afford, but a guy that's still going to help the team, or do a Mook type of deal because they can afford to do it. And maybe you have a guy like a Mook that helps your team in the short run that you can then flip and get another draft pick. So I think those are ways that they can go ahead and use the cap. I do think the Chris Paul stuff is real in terms of interest. How much they will, bend in terms of price, we'll see. I do think the Chris Paul stuff is real. I told you guys about the Conley stuff. I do think that is real in terms of their interest in going after a guy like that. I'm hearing now the Oladipo talk is real. Macri had mentioned it. I believe Berman had mentioned it as well. And now I'm hearing it. I heard that just today from my source, that the Oladipo interest is real. So it's a lot there, man. It's a lot there. But again, it just goes back to having options. Having options in this off season. You know, Oladipo, I wouldn't go for it. But I believe that, you know, there's a price. There's a price. And I think they're not gonna overpay for him. But I think that they would be interested. I think they will be interested. So again, it's all about options. But I do think that this roster is going to get a bit of a turnover. I do think this roster is going to get a bit of a turnover. Yes, they did bring in Ellington. They did bring in Bullock. They did bring in the 3-point shooters. Just a lot of it didn't work. But I think a lot of it was you just didn't start off properly. You know, with the lineup of a Peyton and RJ and Mook and Randall. You know, you weren't going to utilize your shooters in the best way with that lineup. It just was not optimal based on the individual pieces that you had. So we shall see what happens there. We shall see what happens there. But yeah, you know, what I'm hearing on the Oladipo topic is that he wants out. What will be the price for a guy who's in his lame duck free agent year? You know, what will be the market for Oladipo? It's going to be interesting. I'm not, you know, I'm not really interested in him, to be honest. You know that Stephen A meme on Twitter where he's like real stone-faced, you know, that no reaction? That would be my reaction to getting Oladipo. But again, if you're going to get him on the cheap, I guess. I'm not a big fan of trading for a guy that's going to be a free agent anyway, because you're going to give up assets, and then if you plan to keep him, you got to pay him. You know, that's a double price. That's a double cost right there. So certainly interesting. What do you guys think in the chat? I'm seeing a lot of no Oladipo. Yeah, I'm definitely against it, but I'm hearing it. I think the interest is real. The interest is definitely real. Let's go to ATL. My guy Leroy in the building. What's going on, bro?
Hey, CP, how you doing, Chief?
Good, man. How's everything?
Hey, going good, man. Things going good. Man, wait a minute. Don't give up any assets, please, please, please. CP, I don't think people understand this. This draft is definitely being undervalued by mistake due to the fact that without an NCAA tournament, you couldn't see most of these players play. That's number one. Mm-hmm. The other thing is the draft prospects have had a development period that the NBA draft has never had before. These players have had time to develop that they never had before. We need to develop players. We really need to develop players. There hasn't been any Portsmouth Invitational. There hasn't been no Chicago pre-draft. And any call that talks about trading Mitch and RJ's got to be insane. That's crazy. Yeah. I think RJ was undervalued the entire year. This rookie kid who's young had all this pressure on him scoring, and we didn't have a veteran that was consistent anywhere on that roster. So I think we really got more going for us this year than we ever had before, because we got the opportunity to really put together some good assets and do some good development for the first time in maybe 20 years. What do you think, Chief?
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. We got to be patient. I don't think they're going to make any rush panic moves in this draft. I think they're going to keep it simple. Yeah. I don't see them going to trade up. Trade down. I'm not a fan of trading down. I'm not, to be honest. I feel like if there's a guy that a team wants at 8, you know, why aren't we taking that guy at 8? We need everything. You know what I mean? We're not like a Golden State that can afford to do something like that. We don't have any talent on this team. We need everything. So if there's a guy a team likes at 8, I don't see why I'm going to pass on him to let him have him, especially if it's in my division. We're talking about a Boston. So I would just pick. We got 3 picks in this draft. Maybe, as Wasserman said, maybe you go 27-38 and you try to jump up to get Lewis or whoever you want.
Right.
But other than that, I don't see them jumping up from 8, and I'm not so sure on the trade down either.
And another thing, one more thing, is, you know, we're judging the Knicks by the past, and there's nobody in that front office from the past. We don't have anybody in it from the past.
Well, Perry's there. You know, Perry's there. Perry's going into his 3rd year.
Consistent development coaches.
Wait, one more time. Say
What do
that
you
last point again, Leroy. I lost that last point.
Yeah, this is the first time we've had development coaches and a consistent team of development coaches in probably 20 years for the ball players that we have. I think this is the first time we've seen a team of coaches inside our structure to help develop ball players. I don't think people are taking a good look at that. We can't judge things based on what's happened in the past. Nobody's there.
Yeah, but the only thing I'll disagree with you on, the one constant is Dolan. You know, Dolan is there, and when the team starts losing, the fan base starts getting tight. You know, he's got to let Rose do his thing. Leave Rose alone and let him operate. And if you're Rose, you got to understand that if you start making some herky-jerky, mortgage the future, you know, you make this Chris Paul trade, depending on the price, you could set your rep back, your reputation back a little bit with the fan base. You know, if you're going to go get Paul, you know, it better be for a bargain. And I don't think that's going to happen. You know, because I think despite what Milwaukee's saying of not being of interest, I think they will be of interest and try to get him. Philly on Chris Paul, I'm not so sure. You know, I'm not so sure on Philly with Chris Paul. There was talk that him and Doc Rivers never got along. So does that factor into play for some of you? I'm not sure. And I would also say that there's other teams. Would the Clippers be interested in a reunion? One thing about Chris Paul that I don't think we're talking about enough is, does Chris Paul even want to come here? You know, does Chris Paul at this stage in the game say, I want to play for something? You know, are we overlooking that? I think we're just assuming the fact that, you know, Leon Rose was his agent and this is New York. What if Chris Paul says, hey, I want to go play for something. Send me to Milwaukee. Send me to Philly. I'll get along with Doc. Send me back to LA. You know, I think we're jumping the gun a little bit based on the hype and speculation, but I think he should go play for. I would love to have him here. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to have him here for all the positives that we had listed, but as a fan of his, I also think that at his age, he's come so close to reaching the finals. I think he should go play for it. You know, I think he should go play for it. Take a look at the numbers, man. Between the on-off numbers of Schroeder, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Steven Adams when Chris Paul was on the court as opposed to off. I mean, it's MVP caliber. It's MVP quality, man. You know, his impact on that team. Like I said, this was a lottery team before he got there. So his impact on the Thunder is ridiculous. What he got them to. You know. It's ridiculous where he got him to. So salute to him. Dave should be thrown around. We got the mailing list going around. I'm going to give away this hat. The one lucky winner is going away with this hat. We're going to do the drawing in a couple minutes. Let's get to 500 likes. We're at 386. Everybody right now, hit that like button. Very important. Let YouTube know this is the number one show for the fan, by the fan. John Talento says, CP, it's not his call. He's on the contract. Yes. But you know, stars in this league, I think the Thunder will if they are motivated to trade him, I do think that they would consult him. I do think that. Just a guess. Just a guess. Yes, he doesn't have a choice per se, but I do think that they would consult with him, potentially, on where he wants to go. You know, they already have a bevy of assets already. So, we'll see. We shall see, man. All right, let's go to another call. Let's go to Joe from Ohio. Joe, how you feeling, man?
I'm good, man. How you doing, CP?
Good, man. What's your points today?
Yo, I want to throw a trade over to you, man. See what you think about this. I saw I think on Bleacher Report, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm kind of higher on Julius Randle than most people.
Mm-hmm.
But getting Julius Randle over to Phoenix, right?
Mhm.
And some balancing of their roster. They got tons of shooters and whatnot. But getting Julius Randle over to Phoenix, and then getting back Kelly Oubre. It sounds like they're trying to get off of him because they played best in the bubble without him, and then swapping our 27 for their 10, so they can get obviously less on the cap and whatnot, and kind of still get somebody who can be rugged and down there with Ayton, man, and obviously give them a little bit more flexibility to their roster with all those shooting all that stuff. So
yeah, so you're
that's all I
saying,
want to say, man, you're doing a great job, dog. Keep it up, man. Us as Knicks fans, we love you, man.
Appreciate it, man. Definitely appreciate it. So you're saying Julius and 27 for Oubre and 10? Did he hang up? Yeah, I think I lost him. Julius and 27 for Oubre and 10. What do you guys think about that in the chat? Julius and 27 for Oubre and 10. It'd be interesting. Listen, I'm not trying to give away Randall, man. I think a lot of times people think I don't like Randall. I like Randall a lot. I think he's a great kid. I think he came here. He works hard. May not be the sharpest tool in the drawer on both sides of the court. It's a tough game to play. I think the problem with Randall is that he's playing out of his role. And that dooms a lot of guys that come here. And that's why they're not successful here, a lot of these guys. The same thing with Tim Hardaway Jr. most recently. In that you pay these guys a ton of money. They come here and they're the number one, number two option, ball dominant, and that's not their role. I think the reason why he did so well with the Pelicans is that he number one is Anthony Davis's team. Number two is Drew Holiday. You know what I mean? He was playing. He didn't have to force the issue. He didn't have to force the issue. So I'm not just trying to give him away. I want to make sure that any trade is going to benefit this team. I like Oubre though. I definitely like Oubre. Oubre in 10, Randall in 27. Let's see. Certainly be interesting. Intriguing trade. I would say that. But yeah, somebody in the chat said Suns don't need Oubre. Well, yeah, I mean Mikal Bridges is doing his thing, and now you see Cam Johnson doing his thing as well. So Suns look like they're gonna be doing it. I think having played well in the
90 seconds.
Having played well in the bubble, I think they're gonna look for a more established player. I think to get them over the hump. So let's see what happens there. All right, Dave should be sending me the list. Make sure you guys join the mailing list. How many entries we got so far? We got. Whoa. Everybody wants a draft hat tonight. 429 entries. Wow. All right, let's do it. Hit that thumbs up button for you boys. First off, let's hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Salute to Jay's official in the chat. Salute to everybody worldwide, wherever you're checking in from. Salute to my guy J. Cole from St. Louis. Andy checking in from Englewood, New Jersey. We got JC, Honolulu, Hawaii. Josh from San Diego, always checking in. Steve Holler checking in from Phoenix. We have some Dubai's in here. Salute to everybody on Team #new. Let's definitely hit that thumbs up. We're at 424 likes, 1,000 people. We're getting ready to do the giveaway. We're giving away this Knicks draft hat. Not this one in particular, a fresh one. This is a fresh one that you're going to get. So make sure that you sign up. We're going to do the drawing in 2 more minutes. So make sure you get it in so we can give this thing away. Dave just put the link in the chat. So make sure you do that. Make sure you do that. All right, let's see. Let's take a look. Let's do my giveaway music. Salute to all the mods. Great to be back on these weekly shows once again. Thanks a lot, Jonathan Wasserman and Bleacher Report. I think he redeemed himself with the Halliburton stuff. I know a lot of you guys were not too happy with the Halliburton trade rumors, but what he was saying is that, Halliburton is seen as a safe pick in this draft. So this is what the scouts are saying. Not necessarily that the Knicks are interested in him, but that a lot of scouts are high on him because they feel like he is a safer pick. So let's see. Shout out Elias User from Amsterdam. I never got to Amsterdam in my younger days. It was always on the list. But we got Amsterdam here in New York, so we're good. Breakfast, Fortner, #new. Salute to breakfast. Speaking of Amsterdam, somebody mentioned Malik Beasley in the chat. Malik Beasley, if Minnesota goes Edwards, what's the price of Malik Beasley on a little trade? Can you sneak him out? He just got into a little trouble with the law. Malik Beasley, I think he was trying to run some units. I don't know. Let me look up what Malik Beasley do. We're going to get to the drawing in a second. So to everybody in the chat, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. We're at 444. We need 60 more likes. Hit that thumbs up button. If you didn't hit that like button on the video, make sure you get to it. Yeah, Malik Beasley here, facing felony charges. Let's look at these. Let's look at this report real quick. See what's going on. Malik Beasley here. What the hell is he doing? Felony charges, facing felony weapons and drug charges. Felony controlled substance narcotics and felony receiving, concealing stolen property. Sounds a little serious. Beasley's police were called to Beasley's residence a day earlier, reported weapons offense. Reporting individuals told officers they had stopped their car in front of the house and a suspect walked up to the vehicle, tapped on the vehicle window, pointed a gun at him, and advised them to get off the property. As the victims drove away, the suspect was observed holding the gun up to his shoulder, pointing it at their vehicle. Officers set up a perimeter, locate the individual, and detected a strong odor of marijuana. The vehicle attempted to leave. Property was stopped by police. 3 people in the car were detained, later released. Man who identified himself as a homeowner was outside yelling at the officers. Now, sounds like a mess. It sounds like a mess for Malik Beasley. But, yeah, I don't know. Sounds a lot more serious than than a little weed charge. He's out there pointing ratchets. Listen, hey, you in the NBA and you still want to do those things, more power to you. Could never be me. But good luck to Malik Beasley there. All right, let's get this giveaway going. This is what the people came to see here. All right, let's go. We're going to get this giveaway going. Set the people off right as the Knicks embark on another off season. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for your boys. What's the chat saying on this Beasley topic? Malik locked up Beasley. Yeah, he's definitely wilding out. Andrew H says Beasley's felony is not worse than Plaxico when he shot himself. Yeah, man. As a Giants fan, Plaxico, that situation was crazy. And the Giants are terrible too. All right, so let's get to it. Here we go. We got how many entries now, Dave? 445. All right, so I'm giving you guys 10 more seconds to enter into the contest. 10 more seconds to enter into the contest. And let's get these names going. Let me get my music going here. Monday Night Knicks. Hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Shout out my guys at Manscaped. All right, here we go. Let's load that up. I'm gonna load that up, and let's get the theme music here going. All right, here we go. So we had 445 entries. Let's just make sure we don't have any more. No more. Contest is locked. We're at 458, 460 likes. Let's get those likes up. Let's get some more likes in here, and let's give away a hat. Because the lucky winner is going to be Donald Mitchell. Donald Mitchell, no relation to Donovan. Salute to Donald Mitchell. You will be receiving this Knicks draft hat, not the one on my head, but a brand new one, fresh out the box. And that is courtesy of your friends at KnicksFanTV. So salute to Donald Mitchell. And yeah, man, great show, everybody. Once again, definitely want to thank Jonathan Wasserman of Bleacher Report. Thanks to all the mods, everybody who tuned in from around the world. We appreciate it. 1,000 people on the check-in. Yo, we did this 4 weeks in a row, people. We did this 4 weeks in a row. If you're not entertained, I don't know what else to tell you. But this is the #1 show for the fans, by the fans. So make sure you tell a friend, share these videos, comment on the video in the chat, comment after the video. Salute to the replay gang. Replay will be coming out later on tonight. And remember, this show is available in audio podcast format. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Alexa, iHeartRadio, everywhere. Just search for KnicksFanTV and you will never miss another show. And get some merch. Certainly, your support is appreciated. So definitely get some merch. You can get some in the link below. John Talento always appreciated. It's a CP great show. John Talento always in here. Always in here. And salute some more super chats before we go. Josh Small says anything short of playoffs is a failure. That's how you gain credibility. You can develop and still be competitive. Knicks need to build the team in the draft and free agent markets too. No more excuses. I think they'll push for 8. I'm not sure. We'll see. We'll see what the team is that they put together. I think they will push for 8. Will they make that dramatic of a leap in terms of wins? Let's see how they respond to Tibbs. But it's going to be a very unstable season too. So we'll see. We'll see. Frank Wilson, are we going to play Kenny Wooten? I'd love to see Kenny get some burn. Let's see if Tibbs and co respect him as a suitable backup to Mitch, or Mitch and Taj as a third guy. Derek Avery, who do you think is the type of point guard the Knicks should get? Hey, I would take Hayes. I like Kira. I like what I'm seeing and hearing about Malachi Flynn. I would certainly look at those guys. Like Flynn, I like Flynn's edge. I like Flynn's edge and his approach to the game. I like those 3. Those would be my top 3 at the point. At the point, you know, you still have the combo guards. You have Cole. You have Maxey there as well. I would certainly gamble on it. But the Cole stuff is interesting, man. The Cole stuff is interesting just in terms of what you're hearing about his attitude, and that's interesting. You know, how humble is he going to be at the next level? I think he'll have to do that because it seems like, you know, the scouts are very sour on Cole. Chico Fernandez says, I think you guys are underrating Hayes. Halliburton is a good player on a good team. That's how I feel about Halliburton as well. Knicks aren't good. Wasserman doesn't really like anybody in this draft. Chris Dada, no to Oladipo. Too many injuries and assets to acquire. I agree with you. Need shooters. Need Smith and Vassell. No to Toppin as well. He would have a bullseye on him on defense from day one. Tibbs would bench him late in games. Time will tell, man. Time will tell on Obi. But I definitely appreciate you guys for tuning in. And once again, hit that thumbs up button one more time. And we'll be back later on this weekend, man. Check you guys later. Peace.